Hi everyone, today is episode 3 of the BTW show, and this week will be all about branding and what designers should do to personally brand themselves. Want to find out more? Since I started doing videos and public speaking more than 10 years ago, I realized the importance of branding and the crafting of your personal branding to give people an understanding and connection of your works and your ideas. So this vlog is not just for designers, though my angle and research is based on designers' perspective because I'm after all a designer. But in this day and age, anyone who wants to build a strong web presence or want to start building a brand portfolio can take some inspiration from today's vlog. Now, before we start the conversation going about today's topic, if you haven't subscribed, consider hitting the subscription button at the bottom right. Thank you so much. Also, this episode today is sponsored and brought to you by Yeelight. If you're in the market looking for smart LED lighting solutions, then Yeelight is the perfect answer to you. Now use my promo code with the attached link in this post and you can enjoy substantial savings for your Yeelight purchase. Okay, let's talk about today's topic. There are a few parts to this topic on personal branding, and in part 1, which is this episode, we are going to cover 3 things you should do to get on to building your own personal brand. Tip number 1, let's pick a brand name. Now most people typically like to use their own name to build their own personal brand. Now whether it's good or not is not decided by you or me. It depends on how common your name is. For example, if your name is John Tan or John Smith or Mary Lim, then when you do a Google search, you'll find plenty of John Smiths or plenty of John Tans as such. This will not be your ideal name for your personal brand. Now Google is the best way to do this brand health audit. But of course that's not all. We need to gain a bit of understanding about the way to name your personal brand. You do not necessarily need to use your own name to do the personal branding. In fact, there are 6 ways. 1. Naming after the founder, which is your name. A good example is Air Jordan shoes named after Michael Jordan. But as I mentioned earlier, if your name is pretty common, then this may not be a good option. Number 2 is actually known as evocative, a brand that evokes a feeling. So a good example is a Supreme brand. Now I'm sure everyone has seen this logo and know what this brand does. It basically is a skater streetwear, and it somehow evokes a certain kind of skaters culture, but also a certain exclusivity, like you belong in this Supreme club. Invented brand is essentially names that do not exist but sound exciting or somewhat related to the product or services. An example would be Xerox or Kleenex. The 4th method of naming a brand is actually metaphorical branding. Metaphor names are interesting to visualize and often can tell a good story. So if I were to cite an example, it would be the Mont Blanc brand. So this brand is actually named after the highest mountain in Europe. So the company's emblem of a round white star is actually not a star, but rather the snow-capped peak of the Mont Blanc mountain. So it's at the top. This then became a symbol of success, a symbol of being at the very tip or top of the game. The 5th method of naming a brand for your consideration is actually using acronyms. And Singapore is the #1 leader in using acronyms. If you're not familiar to Singapore and you're navigating the highways in Singapore, you will be at a loss because we use a lot of acronyms in naming them. For example, we have the PIE, SLE, TPE, so many. So yes, you can also use acronym to name your brand. If your name is Tan Ah Kao, it would become TAK. Okay, the last method is actually using real-world names. And this method is essentially using real words like Uber or SketchUp. And it's basically taken out of a dictionary and suggests the attributes of benefit. So like Uber, it literally means an outstanding example. So it works real well for a company with a big, bold and broad ambitions beyond ride-hailing. Another name is actually Sharp. So if you buy a TV from Sharp, somehow the brand fits into this perception that the quality of the TV will be Sharp. Tip number 2, make sure you have a good, strong web presence. Now in this day and age, if you don't have a social presence or some kind of web presence, then that will be a serious disadvantage to your brand and the services you provide. Especially due to the pandemic, more and more people are using the internet to do research and the gathering of information. At this current moment, the 2 largest search engines in the world where people get the most information and services are actually Google and YouTube. Now, like I mentioned earlier, if your search results or for your name or for your brand are turning up negative, then you're losing a whole lot of opportunity in letting more people know more about you and what you're doing and what you're selling. So now I understand that you may be thinking that it is a lot of work to do content, for example, for Facebook or YouTube or TikTok on top of your existing job. Now, of course, it will also cost money to produce this content, or sometimes you may even have to buy equipment. But just think about the cost for all these versus how much it will cost you when you lose all those opportunities, all those leads, and all those potential businesses. So to get started, you need to understand your platforms and understand how these platforms can be useful for you. Now, not all platforms work well with your brand or your service. Now, let's assume your main clientele is the office or corporate sector. Then your best bet is using the LinkedIn platform to get leads or share your expertise in that platform. Currently, a lot of businesses and brands are using Facebook to propagate, largely because the tools are easier to use and it serves a very big audience. However, with more people using, it becomes harder and harder to stand out amongst the noise. And there are of course limitations to the current CTA that's actually embedded inside the Facebook. CTA is actually a call to action, and there are tools inside Facebook, for example like messaging the brand, sending the user to the brand's website, or just getting more engagement on the page. That is basically the limitation. Therefore, my advice is to get your own website and invest in it being your CTA landing site. So try to imagine all the platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and many others as layers of outreach. If you're already posting all sorts of content in all these places, then you should direct them to this website of yours so you could actually sift out and identify the type of leads you want. Otherwise, these branding efforts in all these different places and platforms would just be information, and you are not capitalizing on your content and converting these contents to businesses and leads. We will talk more about the website and how to design the CTA in the next vlog. The tip number 3 is to shoot videos. As I mentioned earlier, Google and YouTube are the 2 largest search engine entities at the moment. Millions, if not billions of people are already using this tool to get all sorts of information. We are also seeing more and more people turning to YouTube to get expert advice, tutorials, or tips to learn more about products, places of interest, food, skills, recipe, and so much more. There's still a lot of potential in YouTube because of the entry barrier. For a starter, you need to be able to narrate, film, edit, and there's also equipment costs and maintenance. But let's assume you can get past all these. Then the next step is really to keep putting videos online. Videos are arguably the most effective strategy you can use to connect with your audience, especially in the age of mobile marketing. Many smartphone users find engaging types of video content difficult to resist. So take a look at these numbers. Each month, more than 85% of internet users in the world watch video content. By 2021, the average person would have spent 100 minutes every day watching online videos. And this is a 19% increase from 2019. 93% of companies claim they got a new customer because of their video content on social media. 63% of businesses say that video gets the best return of investment on social media. And yet, despite the obvious potential of video marketing, a lot of friends in the design industry or companies I know are still sitting on the fence. Most of them believe that it's easier to produce blogs, case studies, and even white papers. In comparison, the concept of regularly rolling out fresh, unique video content to them is such a daunting prospect. The truth is, video marketing isn't as complex as it seems. It's just about getting familiar with what video content people love to watch and then offering more of that. A good example I can offer is for architects or designers who are doing renovation or construction work to do videos that show BTS clips. No, not those BTS. BTS as in behind the scene kind of videos. Now this kind of videos offer an immersive experience, pulling back the curtain on your business and the type of project that you do, and allow the customers and potential customers to forge a connection with your brand. Now, viewers will put faces to the names of your team, and your followers can see the design of your office, how you dress for work, what your personalities are like, and how your team interacts with each other. You can create different types of culture videos, such as office pranks, brainstorming sessions, or after work events. Whichever route you go, remember that the goal is to demonstrate the character of your team and the environment of your workplace or the environment of your job site. So there you go, just 3 tips for today, but that's plenty to digest. Because branding is not a simple topic, and it requires plenty of testing and trial and errors before you can find your direction and your voice. Just remember that once the formula and style is established, you need to remain consistent so that the brand starts to build a stickiness effect on your followers. So I'll try to share more about personal branding in the coming episodes. And if you have any opinion or suggestions, please feel free to drop a comment or send me an email. I would love to hear from you guys. So subscribe, leave a comment, and give me a like if you enjoy this content. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys real soon. Bye bye.